Mark Rogers TV talking NFL draft. We are just a few days away from the announcements in Chicago this year. On Thursday, we bring in Kaelen Jones of the State Press, the Arizona State student website and publication out there. Let's talk about this class, Kaelen. Thanks so much for joining us. And of course, the name that jumps out to everyone, not even draft nicks, but just people that follow college football or the NFL that want to get familiar with the impact players that could be heading into the lead. Jalen Strong, of course, is the guy at wide receiver. So just your thoughts about the productivity and the measurements and how he projects to the NFL and what you're hearing in regards to where he may go.
Well, the interesting thing is I think that he's first-round talent. A lot of guys, at least the popular pundits, early on in the draft season had him ranked at least in the top 5. I know he slipped on some boards. He's had concerns over his wrist injury, I believe, that he played with for the final 5 games of the year. But as he noted, he seemed perfectly fine, and you wouldn't have noticed. But Jalen Strong, he's definitely a talent. I think that he comes in and he eventually progresses to become a #1 target in the NFL. He's got the size. He has the strength. Questions about his speed early on, they essentially were answered. He has underrated speed after running a 4.4. I believe he clocked that at the NFL Combine. So he's definitely going to be one of the better receivers out of this class, at least in my opinion. I think that what he brings to the table in terms of size and athleticism is something that you can't pass upon, especially if you're looking for in a #1 receiver. I think the biggest issue probably with him is probably his route running and fighting off the line of scrimmage. But I think that's something that can be coached up. You can't coach his ability to fight for the ball in the air the way that he did throughout his 2 years at Arizona State. He was a vertical threat, as well as the way that they used him. They pretty much they essentially used him as a playmaker. Just they dumped the ball off to him on screens. You'd see him run intermediate routes. The back shoulder fade was absolutely fun to watch. Him and Taylor Kelly perform day in and day out, and that was pretty much his go-to route. I think that he's going to be able to settle in pretty well wherever he ends up. But in regard to that, bottom of the first round is where I personally feel like he fit perfectly. I think his best fits right now would be Baltimore or Carolina, somewhere where he doesn't necessarily step in as the #1 target, but they ease him kind of into that role. Outside of that, I know a lot of people project him going to Kansas City. I don't feel that's a good fit at all after watching Dwayne Bowe kind of struggle over the last couple of seasons with Alex Smith, especially with Jaelen being able to stretch the field. I don't think that Alex Smith's his skill set necessarily caters to his as well, and I just don't feel like that's a system fit. So definitely looking forward. I think Jalen Strong's prospects as an NFL player are definitely going to be good, and I feel like he'll be able to have a successful NFL career regardless of wherever he ends up.
At least he could possibly break that Kansas City string from last season when no wide receivers caught touchdown passes for the entire season. He could probably get him into the end zone one time. And it does amaze me as well, Kaelen, that a lot of really productive, really athletic wide receivers coming out of college get knocked for not having top-end speed. There's only a few guys that people are wow about, and you just hear the knocks during the combine. Almost every wide receiver doesn't have top-end speed like what we're looking for, and then turn out to have very productive careers in the NFL. So that's certainly, I think, very overrated. Let's stay on the offensive side of the ball, and for guys that love college football but maybe not watch as much in the NFL, of course, you see all these very productive stars in college football drop through the draft, a number of them, and then you see offensive linemen that you've never heard of taken earlier. And we go to Jamil Douglas, a productive kid there at Arizona State. Just your thoughts about his skill set, productivity on the college level, and how that possibly projects.
I think Jamil Douglas is going to be talented. He started a tackle, I believe, for ASU. Both the seasons stepped in and handled that spot. But, NFL scouts see him more as a guard. I watched the recent Senior Bowl and as well as the practices, and he performed extremely well, was garnering compliments during the game for creating some holes and turning defenders around. So I think he's going to be able to, kind of translate that over to the NFL. In terms of where he's going to go in the draft and land, I think that you're looking at the 3rd, maybe the 5th round range. I'm not sure whether he'll be a top-end talent, but this is a guy who, again, works hard and, over the course of his ASU career really proved to be a leader amongst that offensive line unit. And ASU is definitely going to miss him, but I think as far as his draft prospects, again, I think that he's going to be a consummate pro, and he could develop into being a legitimate starting guard at the next level, or even left tackle. So he's going to bring that versatility just from his experience at college. So I'm looking forward to see where he ends up and whether that his ability translates over to the next level.
Kaelen joins us from the State Press on the Arizona State campus. Let's turn to defense. Kaelen, look at a couple of impact players up front. Marcus Hardison. You also have at safety Darmarious Randall. Your thoughts about how they project, what they produced in college, and what you're hearing out there.
Oh, Darmarious Randall's great. He at one point he was in the top 10 of tackles in NCAA, considering his size. I believe he's only about 5'10", 5'9", maybe a $180. But this guy, he has a nose for the ball, both in the air and on the ground. He gets in there, and he's garnered a lot of respect over the course of the past couple months because of the safety class not being as talented as per se the receiver class or the running back class, or just even in recent years. I believe Mike Mayock and other popular NFL draft pundits out there have been saying that he could be the first safety taken in this draft. I think that's kind of a stretch, but I do see the skill set.
We may have lost Kaelen. Hopefully he can reconnect here. He was wrapping up the NFL draft class for Arizona State. Kaelen Jones of the State Press on the Arizona State campus. And if we can't get back connected with Kaelen, we got a rundown of Jalen Strong and Jamil Douglas, Arizona State prospects at wide receiver and offensive line. And we were looking at the defense, and hopefully Kaelen can join us. If not, we'll just conclude right here. Kaelen, do you have us? All right, MarkRogersTV knocking out another segment on the NFL draft for Arizona State. We've looked at USC and UCLA. Hope to catch up with a number of bloggers and broadcasters about a number of teams across the country as we gear toward Thursday's NFL draft.